everyone, and welcome back to Spectrum Talk. I'm Ruby Jones, and I'm here today with the president of Xcel Energy Colorado, Mr. Robert Kenney, who has more than 30 years of executive leadership experience in regulatory, legal, governmental, and public affairs. As the president of the electric utility and natural gas delivery company here in Colorado, he is working hard to make sure that residents are warm in the winter and cool in the record-breaking summer heat. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today, Robert.
Well, Ruby, thank you very much for taking the time and for your interest in Xcel and all things energy related.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I know that you're fairly new to Colorado. You've been here for a few years, but how are you loving our state so far?
Well, I've been here 2 years now. I joined the company in June of 2022, and we are loving it. The city is fantastic. The Denver metropolitan area is fantastic, and the whole state is beautiful. I have not yet had an opportunity to experience everything that the state has to offer because I've been really focused on work, but we are really enjoying Denver and Colorado as a whole.
Well, good. I'm so glad to hear it. Now, you started your career as an attorney in Missouri, and then you worked in the Missouri Attorney General's office, where I'm sure you were just inundated with matters related to public policy. But why did you go into energy specifically?
Well, it's an interesting story. So when I was working in the Attorney General's office as a young lawyer, I was just a couple of years out of law school. I did consumer protection work for the Attorney General's office. And I was then in private practice. And I went into private practice for 7 years, and I was a partner at a law firm. And I represented corporations in commercial and business litigation disputes. Then I went back into the Attorney General's office in 2008, and it was a new Attorney General. My former boss, who was Attorney General as a young lawyer, got elected governor of the state, and he appointed me to our State Public Utilities Commission. And so that was really my pathway into the energy realm and into the energy space, was because of that. And so it was an area that I was familiar with, but I hadn't had a tremendous amount of experience. And Governor Nixon was who appointed me to the State Public Utilities Commission, said to me that he knew that I had worked for him as AG doing consumer protection work, and he had followed my career representing businesses in commercial disputes, and that's the kind of balance he wanted to see in a public utility commissioner. And so he said, I trust, Robert, that you'll go learn the law, learn the area of public policy, but that's the kind of balance I want in a public utility commissioner. And so I got on the commission and fell in love with this as an area of law, public policy, and the tremendous contributions that we had to got to make to the people of the state of Missouri. And so when my time on the commission had expired, I knew I wanted to stay in the energy space.
That sounds cool. I kind of expected you to say that you were like a young man doing science fair projects with like the potatoes and the energy. So it's good to know, though, that all of what you've done is really backed by that legal and that public policy foundation, I guess, and giving you like a really broad understanding of the industry that you're in. So great. Now, I do wonder, though, how has your journey been in this industry as it relates to being a Black professional? And do you feel like you're in good company, or do you feel like the industry lacks diversity overall?
Well, I'll say I'm in good company. I was one of 5 commissioners when I was on the commission in Missouri. And then after my term on the commission expired, I got recruited to go out to California. And so I was at Pacific Gas and Electric Company. And now I got recruited to come here in 2022. And so I've been in several different jurisdictions. And I would say this, that there's a fair amount of diversity in our industry, but there's always an opportunity to do more. And I think that this is an exciting space to be in. From both a legal public policy perspective. It's intellectually stimulating, it's important and consequential work. And so I think there's always an opportunity to draw more people to our industry. And so I think there's a great opportunity for more women, more minorities to look at energy as a career opportunity from both public policy standpoint, but also, to your point, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Our industry touches on all of those things. And so I think there's so much opportunity for anybody that wants to find a place in this industry to find something that appeals to their interests.
Well, you mentioned that it's an exciting industry, and I kind of want to switch gears and talk about some of the new innovative and exciting things that are rolling out related to energy. One of the big trends that has certainly picked up here in Colorado is the use of battery powered vehicles. So, what kind of technologies is Xcel Energy implementing throughout the state to support the increased use of battery powered vehicles and electric cars?
It's a great question. So we were one of the first utilities to make really bold climate commitments across the three major sectors that implicate climate change. And so lowering carbon emissions in our electric system and in our natural gas system. And then we also made a commitment around transportation electrification that we wanted to facilitate and catalyze the infrastructure that was going to be necessary so that 1 in 5 vehicles in our service territory would be a zero emitting vehicle. And so we're working really hard to make sure that we're helping to facilitate that. And so we offer rebates. We offer up to $5,000 in EV rebates for income qualified customers. Customers can get $3,000 off a used vehicle or $5,500 off of a new vehicle when you buy or lease. We're also working to make sure that people have the infrastructure in their homes to be able to charge. And so we're offering a program that's called EV Accelerated Home, which for about $13 a month, we'll install the level 2 fast charger that you need in your home. This allows you to save money on the upfront cost of installing a fast charger. That's one of the big things that you'll find as an obstacle to people wanting to buy electric vehicles is, having the charging infrastructure in their home to be able to do that. So we're helping to do that. We're also offering support for commercial fleets and for workplace EV charging with rebates to help with those project costs as well. And so we're really trying to make sure that we're helping to implement what is both our goal and the state goal of getting more electric vehicles on the road.
That sounds like a lot. You're doing a lot. That's great to support that new trend. Well, and I don't even want to say trend. I guess, one of the questions that I also have as someone who grew up in Colorado and who's out and about all the time, I'm really concerned about the air quality here in Denver specifically and throughout the state. So it sounds like in addition to those electric vehicles, Xcel Energy is really concerned about improving that air quality. But can you speak a little bit specifically about how what you do impacts the air we breathe, aside from the cars that we drive and, those transportation technologies that we use? How is Xcel really invested in cleaning up our air?
Well, one of the biggest things that we're doing is that we have committed that we will retire all of our remaining coal plants by 2030. And so uh, we generate electricity through power plants, and some of those are generated, or the generation comes from the use of coal. And we know that the use of coal does generate greenhouse gas emissions as well as other particulate matter. And so by retiring our coal plants, we will be lowering and eliminating air emissions, reducing carbon dioxide emissions, but also reducing sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide. It'll also reduce water consumption. And so the benefits to the air and to our environment generally by eliminating coal as a generating source will have significant environmental benefits. And particularly those communities that are located close to coal plants, they will see significant environmental benefit by that early retirement as well. And as we retire those coal plants, we're also bringing on more renewable energy. So wind and solar paired with storage, which also will have tremendous environmental benefits by using fuels that don't emit any greenhouse gases at all. And so I'm very excited to be a part of a company that's, eliminating coal, reducing our reliance on natural gas, and deploying more renewable resources.
All of those sound like very great things, but as the technologies advance and change and you know more, do you think that Xcel Energy's goalposts have changed recently? You talked about renewable energy. So is the company still on track to reach the goals that have been established by, I think it was 80% renewable energy by 2030?
We're well on track. We are actually already now at 42%. We will be deploying more renewable energy and expect to be 80% by 2030, which also will reduce carbon emissions 80% by 2030 from 2005 levels. We've already, as of the end of 2023, reduced our carbon emissions here by 53%. And then, as I indicated, we're going to accelerate the closure of our own and the state's final coal plant. So the Comanche 3 plant in Pueblo, which we will retire by the end of 2030. So we are well on our way to being 80% by 2030 and expecting to be 100% clean by 2050.
Wow, that's good to hear. That's wonderful news. Now, with you doing all of that hard work and really putting the thought and policy behind all that you're doing, I know that there's still probably some negative feedback. You know, everybody has perspectives about the smart meters, the rate hikes, things like that that you're doing, you know, as a conservative or yeah, conservative effort, conservative.
Conservation, yes.
A conservation effort. So how do you deal with those criticisms? And when it comes to community feedback, do you really consider what the community is saying and try to improve those efforts?
We do, and I'll tell you a couple things. I mean, I think it's incumbent upon us to talk to our customers and our communities to let them know what we're doing and why we're doing it, and to help them understand the value that they're receiving for the dollars that they entrust us with. So we strive to be good stewards of our customers' dollars. And so we want to make sure that we're letting our customers know what we're doing with their dollars. I will say the other thing that it's important to know is we're working to make sure that even while we are making these investments, we are keeping customers' bills as low as possible. And one bit of information that our customers, your viewers might be less interested in is that in 2023, our average residential customer here in Colorado, their monthly bill was 28% below the national average. So even with all the work that we're doing and we're adding more renewables, we're still able to keep average residential customers' monthly electric bill 28% below the national average. But we also recognize that for some of our customers, any rate increase is going to be a challenge. And so we have worked to make sure that we have energy assistance programs available for income qualified customers. In 2023, across all 8 of our states, we had 188,000 customers that received $187 million in energy and affordability assistance.
Wow.
In Colorado, that was almost 80,000 customers. So 79,800 customers in Colorado received $90 million in energy assistance. And so one of the things that we're working on is to try to identify and make sure that all of the customers that are eligible for that energy assistance get connected to that energy assistance. And so we work with state, local governmental agencies that work with income qualified customers to make sure they get connected with energy assistance. We work with Energy Outreach Colorado, the Colorado Energy Office, to make sure that we're reaching as many customers as possible. We also have free weatherization and energy efficiency programs for income qualified customers, because many you might know that some of our customers might live in homes that are not weatherized or that are not energy efficient, and so they're not using energy as efficiently as they can. And you can lower their bills by doing an energy audit and providing them with energy weatherization programs. So those are all the ways in which we are, trying to make sure that we articulate the value proposition, but also make sure that we're working with those customers that need the help the most.
Those are some great answers. And, one of my questions was going to be about establishing trust within the community, but it really sounds like you're trying to do that. I think communication is a fantastic way to establish trust, especially between a corporate entity and one that we all rely on so much. So kind of switching gears again. And talking about the community specifically, here in Denver, and I'm sure in plenty of other places throughout the state, we're really experiencing a challenge when it comes to affordable housing. There's a lot of people that are struggling to pay their bills on top of just being able to, afford a place to live and the rent. So how is Xcel Energy working to ensure that these new affordable housing developments are going to be energy efficient?
Well, a couple things. We work with developers and to connect them with various programs that they can then install energy efficient light bulbs and thermostats and water heaters and insulation. And so one of the things that we do is make sure that we are working closely with developers as they are developing their housing, so that they have access to resources to make those homes energy efficient. So we don't have necessarily a direct relationship in making sure that they are developing those homes. But to the extent that they are developing energy efficient homes, we can connect them with smart thermostats, LED lighting, and provide rebates to make it more affordable to install those energy efficiency measures.
Well, that's good. So, what types of community initiatives are you specifically looking to support in terms of, your efforts to increase Excel's community impact in Colorado? And I know you've sat on the board of plenty of organizations throughout your career. Are you working with any nonprofit organizations here in Colorado? And what is the connection there between what you're seeing in the community from an organization standpoint, and kind of a grassroots standpoint, and how you're able to translate that into the work you're doing on the corporate end?
Well, one of the things that really excites me about being a part of this company in particular is our commitment to giving back to our communities. And I personally believe in the idea that doing well and doing good can happen simultaneously. And so I do think it's an obligation of corporations to be a part of the fabric of the communities that they serve, and contribute to economic vitality. And so we have a foundation that does a significant amount of giving across three different focus areas. We're focused on STEM career pathways, environmental sustainability, and then community vitality. And so we do grants to nonprofits throughout the state of Colorado that are consistent with those three focus areas. And so in 2023, we gave our foundation granted about $1.3 million to 87 discrete nonprofits in Colorado. We also have a significant number of our employees and our coworkers that sit on different corporate or nonprofit boards and do volunteerism in their own right. And so we do thousands of hours of volunteerism throughout the course of the year as well. I personally am very committed to education in the arts, which is my personal passion. I always share with people my mother was a public school teacher and always believed in the benefit of arts as a contributor to higher reading and test and math scores. And those kids that have access to the arts typically do better in school. And so I will tell you, I'm a very big supporter of Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Club or Dance Troupe, and the work that they do in schools. And so we've had a long-standing partnership with Cleo Parker Robinson Dance, and something that as I've come into Colorado, that's an organization that I'm very supportive of.
Leo Parker Robinson Dance is a community treasure. I just love
Yes.
it, and I love what they do. So that's really good to know. And I agree with your mother as far as the arts education being such a critical component to children's development. So good.
Yes.
Now, this is an election year. So as we know, there's a lot of hot topics kind of floating around concerning what people should be looking out for, and concerned about, watchful of. What are some of the biggest considerations for the energy industry that people should be really aware of during this election year?
Well, I'll say for Excel in particular, there are a lot of issues that may be impacted by the elections, and energy policy would be just one of them. And our stance has been that regardless of the election outcomes, we're going to continue to work with leaders across both sides of the aisle, to make sure that we're continuing to provide clean, reliable, affordable energy to all of our customers. And so regardless of the outcome, we're going to keep working with those guiding principles in mind. I would say for our customers, your viewers and listeners, get as smart as you can about the issues that you're passionate about, and make sure that you're making well-informed decisions as you exercise your right to vote. And I will say, at the state level, one of the exciting things about Colorado is we have lots of ballot initiatives. So we know that there will be lots of ballot initiatives that citizens will have the opportunity to vote on. Make sure that you make well-informed decisions and take advantage of the resources that are available to educate yourself about those choices.
Well, that's great advice. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. But I really thank you once again, Robert, for making the time to join me to discuss these issues. Thank you so much for being here.
Ruby, thank you. And I look forward to continuing the conversation at some other point in the future.
Absolutely. And thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to read more about Robert and his work at Xcel in the August issue of Denver Urban Spectrum. And we'll see you next time.